the Wounded Warrior Project that a lot of that information is coming to light with the American public. So with that, I just want to say thank you to the citizens of Sag Harbor and Montauk and the Hamptons and Stevens Talkhouse and the folks I've met that created this soldier ride. They had no idea what they were doing 10 years ago, but it's absolutely priceless today. And for that, I say thank you, especially to Chris Carney and Stephen, Peter, and Nick. Unbelievable folks that allow me to be here today. So thanks much. I appreciate it, folks.
Well, I thank you for your service.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. It's a pleasure being here.
At this time, I'm going to introduce Joanne Lyles.
It's a great day for Sag Harbor. We welcome our wounded warriors and all the true patriot bike riders and 5Kers to help make this day special, this day memorable and etched in our hearts. Thank you for your part in helping the Wounded Warrior Project continue its good work in healing our veterans and helping them to get back on the road to recovery in body and mind. My son, Jordan Herter, grew up here in this special seaside town. He enjoyed simple life pleasures like four-wheeling on back roads, paint gun wars, video gaming, and sharing freshly baked sourdough bread and blueberries with his Oma. But he also learned to fly a Cessna airplane and soloed at age 16. Jordan was thoughtful and compassionate. He did well in school, and we just assumed he'd go to college. But he decided he wanted to become a United States Marine. He trained before he left for boot camp, learning all the dates and facts that would be required of him. He ran in work boots over trails and hills. Somehow easy for him, he qualified as expert rifle, and he was platoon high shooter at his graduation Parris Island boot camp. He gained a new skill set there. I'd like to introduce Rob Singles. He was a rack mate and in the very same squad as Jordan in Ramadi, and he was one of the Marines that was saved by Corporal Jonathan Yale and Jordan on that day. Rob Singles.
Good afternoon. As Joanne said, my name is Rob Singles, and I was a roommate to Jordan Harder in Iraq. It is my honor to present to you guys a speech prepared by General John Kelly in regard to two Marines. 2 years ago, when I was the commander of all U.S. and Iraqi forces, in fact, the 22nd of April, 2008, two Marine infantry battalions, 1-9 The Walking Dead, and 2-8 were switching out in Ramadi. One battalion in the closing days of the deployment were going home very soon, the other just starting out its 7-month tour. Two Marines, Corporal Jonathan Yale and Lance Corporal Jordan Harder, 22 and 20 years old respectively, one from each battalion, were assuming watch together at the entrance gate of an outpost that contained a makeshift barracks housing 50 Marines. The same broken down, ramshackle building was also home to 100 Iraqi police, also my men and our allies in the fight against the terrorists in Ramadi, a city until recently the most dangerous city on earth and owned by Al-Qaeda. Yale was a dirt-poor mixed-race kid from Virginia with a wife and daughter and a mother and sister who lived with him and he supported as well. He did this on a yearly salary of less than $23,000. Harder, on the other hand, was a middle-class white kid from Long Island. They are from two completely different worlds. Had they not joined the Marines, they would have never met each other or understood that multiple Americas exist simultaneously depending on one's race, education level, economic status, where you might have been born. But they were Marines, combat Marines, forged in the same crucible of Marine training, and because of this bond, they were brothers, as close or closer than if they were born by the same woman. The mission orders they received from the sergeant squad leader, I'm sure, went something like, "Okay, you two clowns, stay in this post and let no unauthorized personnel or vehicles pass. You clear?" I'm also sure that Yale and Harder then rolled their eyes and said in unison something like, "Yes, Sergeant," with just enough attitude that made the point without saying the words, "No kidding, sweetheart." We know what we're doing. They then relieved two other Marines on watch and took up their posts at the entry control point of Joint Security Station Nasser in the Sophia section of Ramadi, Al Anbar, Iraq. A few minutes later, a large blue truck turned down the alleyway, perhaps 60, 70 yards in length, and sped its way through the serpentine of concrete Jersey walls. The truck stopped just short of where the two were posted and detonated, killing them both catastrophically. 24 brick masonry houses were damaged or destroyed. A mosque 100 yards away collapsed. The truck's engine came to a rest 200 yards away, knocking most of the house down before it stopped. Our explosive experts reckoned the blast was made of 2,000 pounds of explosives. 2 died, and because these 2 young infantrymen didn't have it in their DNA to run from danger, they saved 150 of their Iraq and American brothers in arms. When I read the situation report about the incident a few hours after it happened, I called the regimental commander for details, as something about this struck me as different. Marines dying or being seriously wounded is commonplace in combat. We expect Marines, regardless of rank or MOS, to stand their ground and do their duty, and even die in the process if that's what the mission takes. But this just seemed different. The regimental commander had just returned from the site, and he agreed, but reported there was no American witnesses to the event, just Iraqi police. I figured if there was any chance of finding out what exactly happened, and then to decorate the 2 Marines to acknowledge their bravery, I'd have to do it as a combat award that requires 2 eyewitnesses, and we figured the bureaucrats back in Washington would never buy Iraqi statements. If it had any chance at all, it had to come under the signature of a general officer. I traveled to Ramadi the next day and spoke individually to a half a dozen Iraqi police, all of whom told the same story. The blue truck turned down into the alley and immediately sped up as it made its way through the Serpentine. They all said, "We knew immediately what was going on as soon as the 2 Marines began firing." The Iraqi police then related that some of them also fired, and then to a man ran for safety just prior to the explosion. All survived. Many were injured, some seriously. One of the Iraqis elaborated with tears welling up, said they'd run like any normal man would to save his life. What he didn't know until then, he said, and what he learned that very instant, was that Marines are not normal. Choking past that emotion, he said, "Sir, in the name of God, no sane man would have stood there and done what they did. No sane man. They saved us all." What we didn't know at the time, and only learned a couple of days later after I wrote a summary and submitted both Yale and Harder for posthumous Navy crosses, was that one of our security cameras, damaged initially in the blast, recorded some of the suicide attack. It happened exactly as the Iraqis had described it. It took exactly 6 seconds from the truck entered the alley until it detonated. You can watch the last 6 seconds of their young lives. Putting myself in their heads, I suppose it took about a second for the 2 Marines to separately come to the same conclusion about what was going on once the truck came into their view at the far end of the alley. Exactly no time to talk it over or call the sergeant to ask what they should do. Only enough time to take half an instant to think about what the sergeant told them only a few minutes before. Let no unauthorized personnel or vehicles pass. The 2 Marines had about 5 seconds left to live. It took maybe another 2 seconds for them to present their weapons, take aim, and open up. By this time, the truck was halfway through the barriers and gaining speed the whole time. Here, the recording shows a number of Iraqi police, some of whom had fired their AKs, now scattering like normal and rational men they were. Some running right past the Marines. They had 3 seconds left to live. For about 2 seconds more, the recording shows the Marines' weapons firing non-stop. The truck's windshield exploding into shards of glass as the rounds take it apart and torn to the body of the son of a bitch who was trying to get past them to kill their brothers, American and Iraqi, bedded down in the barracks, totally unaware of the fact that their lives at any moment depend entirely on 2 Marines standing their ground. If they had been aware, they would have known that they were safe because 2 Marines stood between them and a crazed suicide bomber. The recording shows the truck careening to a stop immediately in front of the 2 Marines. In all the instantaneous violence, Yale and Harder never hesitated. By all reports and by recording, they never stepped back. They never even started to step aside. They never even shifted their weight. With their feet spread shoulder width apart, they leaned into the danger, firing as fast as they could to work their weapons. They only had 1 second left to live. The truck explodes. The camera goes blank. 2 young men go to their God. 6 seconds. Not enough time to think about their families, their country, their flag, or about their lives or their deaths, but more than enough time to be very brave young men to do their duty into eternity. This is the kind of people who are on watch for us all over the world tonight. For you. Thank you.
Always a tough one to follow. So the rules of the road leaving Sag Harbor here. The soldiers are going to come out. We're going to go down Main Street and do a victory lap of Main Street, and then we're going to peel off over the bridge. At that point, we hope everyone will follow us. When we leave Sag Harbor, we're no longer going to have the police escort that we enjoyed on the way here, so please use common sense. Rules of the road apply. Stay to the right. Be courteous to the other riders. As we go over the bridge, we're going to go down about a half-mile, do a little turnaround through a side road and come back. At that point, one of the best moments of the ride happens because everyone passes each other, and you guys will be able to pass all the soldiers and stuff like that. So it's an electric moment, and I want to thank all you guys for being here. Thanks for supporting the ride and the soldiers. And the one common denominator that we all have is our love and respect for you guys. So.
Daniel Phillips, and I'm in the British Army as a mechanic.
Very good. What brought you here to Sag Harbor for the ride?
Just to test myself on a hand bike and see the difference between the support that you guys get over in the US compared to what we get in Britain.
Very good. Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Have a good ride, everyone.
Remember that. Follow Chris Carney. All right, guys. Follow Chris Carney, guys. I'm following you. Always.